Hi, I'm Quentin. I go to a very large high school, and I kind of wanted to know, how I could tell people more about Christ, because, a lot of people at my school do not believe, and I'm one in a very small handful that believes, and I would just want to know how I can preach to the masses there.
Again, go on the one-on-one conversational, just as opportunity develops. So aim for the one-on-one, but then get a group of guys or gals, 3, 4 of you, and say, Lord, give us a big idea. Say, and the Lord will give you an idea. Say, just the outside of the box idea. And I've heard just over the years, the Lord will give you an idea. Maybe that one won't work, ask Him for the next one. But a couple of you get together and just say, give us something that's outside the box. And I think that you might be surprised that the Holy Spirit would really do that if people would ask Him. But between now and then, keep going for the one-on-one conversations.
I'll give you a little tip too. I would, no, this is my passion. I remember when I was in high school and I used to be scared to death to share the gospel. And I used to say, God, why would you call a guy who's afraid to be an evangelist? What are you doing? And so. Because
you were really timid, wasn't you, in high school?
Very timid. I was very timid. I used to get very scared if somebody asked me about the gospel. I didn't know how to answer them. And so what I did, and what I'd encourage you to do, is I began to find other believers and gather them for daily prayer or weekly prayer. And what you find out is when you begin to identify, there's more of you than you think. And when you find each other, it gives you this corporate boldness, and prayer really changes things. What Mike was saying, in that place of prayer, God begins to give you divine ideas to serve others around you, serve teachers, reach out, do things where Christ begins to be exalted in your midst, and the atmosphere of your school begins to change. And suddenly there's this corporate synergy of what God's doing all around you that's not just dependent on you sharing. And so I would encourage you, get a corporate boldness by corporate intercession.
The Lord will give you a need, a group of people to go after, or an event, and it will emerge, and it will cause a larger awareness. But ask Him, say, Lord, give us 3 or 4 of us an idea of what to do. He may say, I want you to, not necessarily this, but to do this for all the teachers, or do this for all the foreign students, or do this for the police force in your area, and you rally your students to help you. I mean, there's 1,000 different things like that. Asking for one of those, and all of a sudden it will gain traction and energy, and it will build, and you'll turn around one day and there'll be a whole bunch of people that will be engaged with it, and you think, boy, I never knew this would have happened. So asking for a big idea.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Olivia, and my question is, when Jesus died, did the whole Trinity die, or did only Jesus die?
Jesus as a man only, because Jesus is fully God and fully man. So Jesus, and that's a great mystery, the Bible says, meaning in our human comprehension, we can't grasp how He can be fully God and fully human. That's why it's called the mystery of the incarnation. So Jesus, the man, died physically. But Jesus as God and Jesus' spirit did not die, but His physical body went into the grave.
Okay,
Good question.
Hi, I'm Jada, and my question's actually for Misty. I'm homeschooled and a preacher's kid, and whenever...
Wait, just for fun. Wait, how many of you have preachers, your preacher's kids? Just raise your hand. Okay. How many of you are homeschooled? Or you have been? Okay. How many of you grew up in the weekend in bars? Oh, there you go. That's my people. Okay, those are my people. Okay. Those are your people and my people.
No, they're both my people.
All right. Well, there you go. They're both my people. Go ahead. That's a good answer.
Anyway, so when I go to my friends in public school or people I work with, and they're talking to me, and I try and give them advice, even about God or anything, they say that I'm too sheltered to know real life, and I'm just trying to figure out, how can I help and how can I do that when they think that. So
Yeah, I remember feeling that same thing and facing that same thing. And I think it's very similar to his answer on how to win people over to the Lord. Just if you stay consistent and you stay relational and you're concerned about their personal lives and you're interested in their life and you're not shocked when they tell you what they're really doing. You know what I mean?
Right.
You're
This is excellent.
you're not appalled and like, oh my goodness, my ears. You're genuinely concerned about their real life. So they don't have to put on a front when they're with you. Then they start to let their guard down and they go, okay, maybe she hasn't experienced the same things, but she's here to listen to me. So I think asking questions and listening and not being shocked, all those things really help. And then just over time, they start to trust you. And then you find when they're in that predicament again and they're drunk on a Friday night and they have nobody to call, they're going to call you because they know you're not drunk on a Friday night. So it really does happen that way. And then they'll start to trust you. And then they start to see
If they
your
think
life.
you're not judging them,
If they don't feel like you're shocked and put off by it, they really will start to trust you. And then they want to become more like you as life unfolds.
Okay.
The question I would always ask people when, even this day, 40 plus years later, I would start, many times I would ask a person about the Lord. I would say, do you ever think about religion? I would make it real broad. And if they go, no, I don't want to, and I don't care about religion, I would leave it alone. If they go, yes, they go, yeah, I do. They don't say nothing else. Then I take it to the next step. I go, like, what is an idea or two that interests you or that you think might be the right idea about religion? Then if they give you an answer, I go to the next question. Why do you think that's the right idea? Is that for everyone? If they answer, I go to the next question. But if they don't, I pull away. And so you can start real gentle and lots of folks will open your heart, even strangers will. And then I ask them, do you think about religion? What do you think is true about it? I mean, what are your ideas? What do you think are some of the challenges of it? I start with those 2 or 3 general questions. Then the big turn is when I tell them, Christianity is not a religion, it's a relationship. And they go like, huh? Then they either bail out of the conversation or they go, what do you mean? I go, I always thought it was a religion of rules. I found out it's a relationship with a person. Can I share that with you? And again, if they say no, stop. Lots of times I'll go, yeah, okay, give me a little bit. But that's about my 5th or 6th question in the conversation. If they cut me off before that, then I stop.
And I would just add to that real quick most people are really lonely. And even if they're in the middle of a big circle of friends, they don't ever really open up and talk. So no, most people don't. Yeah. And so if you are genuinely interested and you ask questions about their personal lives, it really, no matter what, if your backgrounds are entirely different, they really will start to
ask them if they've had a negative experience. Like, when I say you think about religion, yes. Have you ever had a negative experience, or have you ever had a positive one? Just those kind of questions open up so many conversations, and you can witness to almost anybody in that approach.
I'm David, and I just want to thank you guys for what you do. First, the Lord bless you for what you do. And my question is, how or what did the Lord teach you about turning the vision that He had given you into reality?
Turn the vision He gave me into reality. Doing the little things consistently. That's how it all happens. Mm-hmm. Rarely is there a big day where it all unfolds. It just is like Misty told you about. The Lord spoke to me about doing 24/7 prayer. But for like 16 years, we did boring little prayer meetings with 5 or 10 people at them. And I said, well, Lord, I actually had a sign in our church that said 24-hour prayer, because the Lord spoke it really clear in 1983, 32 years ago. Really clear. And I don't want to go into that story, but I didn't even know what it meant. And so for the next 16 years, we had that sign on the wall. And people would say, what's 24-hour prayer with singers and musicians? And I go, I don't know, but let's do a little prayer meeting with 5 every day and see what happens, And you just do the little thing. You just keep doing it, and then a door opens. Then another door opens. Then another door opens. And you look back some years later and you go, who would have thought it would have happened this way? So doing the little things consistently, even if nobody is applauding them, that's the way you walk your vision out.
My name is Kira. I've been leading worship since I was in 5th grade, and going into my senior year of high school, I lead worship with our adults, so I'm not part of our youth band.
Since 5th grade?
Yeah. And I get a lot of negativity from the adults in our church that I'm too young, and even from then, even till now.
How old
that
are you
I
now?
don't, I'm 17.
Okay.
That I'm too young and I don't understand worship, and that that I'm just faking it and that I'm doing it because that's what I see I'm supposed to be doing. So how do I deal with the negativity coming at me from the people I'm supposed to be ministering to and leading into worship?
I think that's a great question.
That's a great question.
And I think it's something that kind of never goes away, and it changes. I mean, the complaint or the criticism might change.
Do you ever get criticized?
I get criticized all the time, of course. I mean, I a little bunny child, people are always like, oh, if you're on a stage, you're going to get proud. And I'm like, no. You get way more criticism than you get praise when you're in front of people, especially when you represent a larger group of people. Because so you're representing the church by being up there and leading, so they have all opinion about it. So I think the way you deal with it, some of it, you measure it and you go, okay, is there any truth in this? Like, do I need to change some things? And take those little pieces of truth, even though it's painful, take the little pieces of truth and do adjust and change. And some of it, you just have to bless them and let it go.
And you know that the Lord's opinion's the one that's the one you care most about. You care about people. Like someone says, I don't care what man says. I go, of course you care what man says. We do care about what people say. We just don't want to make it number one. You know, it's not like we just write them off. But the Lord has called you to do it, and nobody knows so much about worship. If we think we do, you know, let an angel show up and say, you don't know that much, trust me. So, you know, if you're genuine, like your I love you God is real, it's like I like to say, even if our love is small, it's real. That's all that you need, is for it to be genuine. It doesn't have to be deep in understanding. And again, if you think someone's deep in understanding, let an angel come talk to you about what deep in understanding. They go, you don't hardly know anything, you know, in reality, compared to all that you're going to know one day. So I wouldn't let them, you'll always have critics. She has critics in IHOP, outside of IHOP, in the church, outside the church. Every one of our worship leaders do.
On the worship team.
The people on our worship team, I don't like that, your style, it's not exciting, it's boring, it's dynamic, it's goofy, it's wonderful. You're going to have a group of people say that all the time while you're a worship leader. Not necessarily the majority, but there'll always be a few saying that to you. So once you know it's true, every worship leader gets that. You go, okay, if that's how it is, I can do it.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Boris, and my question is for Misty. How do you prepare for worship, and how do you deal with 7 other musicians telling you how to play that song or how to do everything?
Yeah, are you the leader?
I am the worship leader, yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's a great question. I think the way you prepare is, I always come with a set list, but I always kind of give myself variations. Like I'm looking for the wind or which way to blow anytime. But I would go with like cluster songs together that you don't have to stop and start in between, because I really love the flow, so that when people are worshiping, they don't have to stop, start, stop, start, stop, start. So maybe songs that are in the same key, close to the same tempo, and I would do a couple sets like that. Does that make sense? Yeah. And then as far as the people on your team giving you opinion, I think it's good for them to have opinion, because you want them to have ownership and you want them to feel involved. But at the end of the day, there can only be one person calling the shot. So sometimes you just have to look at the drummer and say, no, we're going to do it this way. And if they don't want to do it that way, I mean, somebody has to make the decision. Otherwise, you just get hijacked and it's chaos the whole time. But I would always value listening. Like I mostly just go with what they want, because usually they're right. So I'll listen to them. You know, I love to collaborate with them. But at the end of the day, if we are at a conflict, they have to go with what I'm saying.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Hi, my name is Ninoi, and I was wondering, like, you know, with today's society, like school and stuff, how do you stay pure and, like, not be under the influence and stuff?
Oh, that's the challenge everybody's facing. I tell you, one of the biggies is being with godly friends. I cannot stress the value of having 3 or 4 godly friends. I don't mean just someone who goes to church, but someone who's going to commit to obey the Lord and hold the line of obedience to Him. I think that is the absolute key in a high school setting, to have a couple friends that you're in it together. So that's the first thing I would urge you to make sure you got a few friends you're standing with.
My name is Megan. I was wondering how you do your hair with the wrap.
With the wrap?
Yeah.
Well, I just take all the dreads because they're about this long, and then I pull it all up.
Wait, they're this long?
Yeah, they're probably
You're
about-
kidding!
Yeah.
Because she always wears... No, okay. We're moving on.
No.
They really are that long?
They're long. Because I've
Dude.
had them for 8 years, so they're long. Y'all are going to
Everybody
ask me
say
to...
that. Dude. That's my one cool word. That's the only word I know that's cool.
Yeah. Y'all are going to ask me to whip my hair back and forth before I know it.
Wait, to do what? What's that?
Whip my hair
You
back
like
and
that?
forth. I'm not going to do it.
Okay.
So how I do it, I just pull it up and then I just tie it in knots and wrap it around and then I put the wrap on. It's always different every day, but...
Would you like to know how I fix my hair? I'll tell you. Good question. That was good.
Oh, okay. Hello, my name is Enguk Tak. I'm from Texas, and I'm with Lake Highland.
Wait, she slipped that Texas thing in there.
Okay. You have an amazing voice, by the way.
Thank
okay.
you. I haven't sang that much, but
No.
I appreciate it.
No, her.
Oh, thank you.
Okay. My question is so I feel like everybody's like finding their calling and I'm like still like waiting for it and everybody knows what they want to do and what God wants them to do.
Yeah, I would say just take it one day at a time, one decision at a time. You know, how old are you?
18.
18.
But gonna be 19 in 20 days.
Yeah. All right. Happy birthday. Happy early birthday. I would just say don't get into a panic because I remember being 19 and you're at the end of high school. Have you been out of high school for a year? Or
No, just a couple months.
Couple months. So you just So I remember that transition very, very much. So what I did is I just said, hey, I don't know exactly what I want to do. I was thinking of law. I was thinking of different things. So I just said I'm going to give a year to Bible school. And so I actually moved to Kansas City to go to the Bible school because you have time. And so I would just say don't feel pressure to know it all now, even though people will put that pressure on you, and let it unfold. Like I had no idea IHOP was around the corner. I had no idea.
Like, weren't you scared though?
I was scared because I thought, I'm going to waste my time, I'm going to waste my life. And when you're 19 and you think, if I don't start the college career now, it's never going to happen. But the older I've gotten, the more I realize it just isn't that way. There is time. Even if you go back to school at 21 and you want to start college, there's time. Do you know what I mean? So I wouldn't panic.
Hi, I'm Kaylee. I was wondering, how do you effectively avoid the pressures high school and friends put on you, but still keep yourself in position to act on what the Lord's telling you to do?
Avoid the pressures like what pressures?
Like the pressures that there's the high school, like initially like your purity, or any pressures that your friends are trying to get you to go places that you know you shouldn't be and stuff like that.
Yeah, we experienced. Okay. Did you actually go to high school or you just did homeschool the whole way?
I homeschooled the whole way, but you experienced
I've heard your
it.
story lots of times,
Yeah.
but...
No, I did homeschool the whole way, but that doesn't necessarily mean...
But I certainly faced that in high
forget.
school because I was on fire for the Lord in high school. I think you've got to get it 3 or 4 believers that you're in it together and you aware there's an invisible person that's smiling over you, that cares what you do, and you care about his smile more than their smile. At the end of the day, it comes down to that. And you work that muscle over and over, meaning I have to realign my heart to that reality over and over and over because their smile is more obvious. I can see it, and his is invisible. But I can feel it sometimes, but not so much. But I have to keep committing myself to that one. And over little by little, this becomes more real. Does that make sense? Yeah. Okay. Last question.
I'm Destiny. My question was, how do y'all interpret biblical prophecy and how do you explain it to people? Because like I saw prophecy as like, Isaiah, etc., prophesying huge events. Not really, saying, Lord, give me the heart for that person and the words you want to speak to them, through me. How do y'all explain that?
Wait, explain biblical prophecy of end-time events or personal prophecy to people?
Is there like a difference between personal prophecy and how do y'all explain that? Because Isaiah would, prophesy huge events. It wasn't really personal, small events.
Yeah, Isaiah was the office of a prophet. That's different than everybody can function in simple prophecy. Everybody can have a prophetic word for another person that encourages them. So the whole body of Christ, 1 billion people could do that. But there's not very many that are the office of a prophet. So I would distinguish between those two.
Okay.
Good. Excellent.
So I think you should tell us something funny that happened in your years of praying.
Okay, I'll tell you one story. You want to hear one story? I'll tell you this.
And I'm going to sit down so you don't
I'll
turn it
tell
on
you
me.
my weirdest story. Okay, I'm 16 years old. I thought I saw God in a water heater. That's the story. Let me tell you, and I worshiped God, but it ended up being a water heater. So I'll tell you how it happened. Starts off, there's only about the 3 parts of the story, I'll make it fast, is that I'm 16 years old, and again, I have a total unchristian background, so I go to this movie, The 10 Commandments. How many of you have seen The 10 Commandments with Charlton Heston? I went to the drive-in theater 5 times in 10 days and saw that same movie over and over. I couldn't fathom the 10 Commandments, that, the Red Sea split. I was blown away. Other Christian kids knew all about that story. I didn't. So I read the book of Exodus, which is what the 10 Commandments is. And there's this one little verse in Exodus, if you read it, it's the 10 Commandments story, that it says, Moses said that if you see God's face, you'll die. I thought, wow. I was so blown away. So I went to my high school Bible studies, and they would say, who's got a verse to share? I'd raise my hand up, about 50 people, and they go, yeah. I go, if you see God, you'll die, right here in Exodus. I go, okay, next week. I did about 10 weeks in a row. They go, okay, Bickle, enough. We know that verse. I go, this is amazing. If you see God, you'll die. Okay, that's that. Next part of the story, because that's a key. Next part of the story, our whole youth group went to a big meeting in Dallas where Billy Graham was preaching. This is 1972. This is 40 years ago. Okay, Billy Graham is preaching, and he gives the call to missions. 4 nights in a row at the big stadium in Dallas. And every night I stood up, I'm going to be a missionary. So I determined I was going to go back home, because I'm in Dallas, going to go back to Kansas City, and I'm going to quit high school. I'm going to leave the football team, and I'm going to go to Africa and be a missionary, because Billy Graham, and I'm going to be like Moses. Okay, so there. Last part of the story. So I'm living in this discipleship house. And in this discipleship house, meaning 9 guys live in it. 2 of us are in high school, and 7 of them are college guys. And they're all real committed believers, and we're kind of the 2 younger ones, and we're involved in the youth groups and that stuff. And so 9 of us live in this house. But they're all gone. They're still in Dallas. So me and my friend get back a day early. And I mean, we are so excited. So we go down in the basement of this discipleship house, again, where these 9 guys live. But it's empty, just the 2 of us. And this basement is so dark, you can't even see your hand in front of your face. So we go down in the basement, and we're in our bunk bed. He's on the top, I'm in the bottom, and I say, Lord, just confirm it one more time. I'm going to quit school, and my friend is too. We're going to quit the football team. We're going to go to Africa. We don't know how, but we're going to do it. We're going to do it next month. We're Billy Graham. We're going to change the world. Da, 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 da. Right when that happened, what happened? Deep in the closet, there was a water heater. And the water heater light went on instantly when I prayed that prayer. Now, the reason I didn't know that before is that the 4 days that we were in Dallas, one of the guys moved from that, one of the guys that lived with us moved. He moved all of his clothes, and when he moved all of his clothes were blocking the water heater that was always there. But I didn't know there was a water heater back there. So I'm laying down in the bed, the closet's on that wall, and I go, oh God, I'm going to go to Africa. Give me a sign, Lord, give me a sign. In the instant, back in the closet, the water heater goes on. I look, it looks like the burning bush in Moses. I mean, I can hear almost boom, boom, just like the movie. There's a glow in the center of the room. So I told my friend, I go, don't look at God or you'll die. Because this truth I knew. I had been teaching this to everybody. So here we are in our boxer shorts. We get down on our knees. We crawl across the floor. And I'm telling him, like Moses in the burning bush, I tell this guy, I go, you can't look. If you look, you will die. And he goes, I know. So we get in front of the water heater. Our hand is in front of our face. I can see the light kind of coming through. I am terrified. I'm in front of the burning bush. And so I say, Lord, your servant. And nothing happens. So then my friend whispers, and he goes, whoa, what should we do? I go, you try it, but go a little bit louder. He goes, Lord, your servant. And I said, don't look. He goes, I know. I go, no, this is very important. So my friend, he can't stand it. He looks with his fingers like this, and he sees the water heater. Because, we crawl across, we're looking into the closet. The water heater's way back in the closet because, the guy that moved a week ago just moved his clothes, so that's why this is all happening, because the clothes had blocked it. So he looks like this and sees the water heater. He is so upset. He goes, in disgust and pain, like, oh! But I didn't know he looked. I thought he was getting it. It was getting him. He went, oh! I went, oh my God, it's coming. And then he's a real physical guy, so he's going, oh! And he hits me because we're both kneeling down like this. And he hits me, but I don't know it's him hitting me. I think it's God making happen to me what's happening to him. And I'm going, oh! And I fall over. And it's a water heater. Anyway, I'll end you with that story. Okay.